This is Moments with Foo with James Foo Torres, better known as Foo, the show that takes you around the world to share interviews with some of the most successful and relevant people on the planet, hear their stories, and get the most important business lessons they have learned on their road to success, and get exclusive advice on how to implement their success into your life and business. Moments with Foo is brought to you by the Strategic Advisor Board and your host, Foo.
Hello and welcome to Moments with Foo. I'm your host, James Foo Torres, but you can call me Foo. His name of the podcast. And today I have Erica Ramos. She is the founder and CEO of Stream Strategies. And I'm going to let her tell you more about that. But first, Erica, how are you?
I'm doing good, Foo. Thanks so much for having me today. How are you today?
I'm doing good. A little tired because I've been going at it since like 4:30 and it's 2 p.m. now. But I feel good. You know, a lot of good things are happening and I'm excited for this conversation.
All right. Well, hopefully I can wake you up with some exciting things about money and taxes.
Right. I'm going to start moving around.
Not losing so much money to taxes. That's
exactly.
Always
that is the main thing. It is your right to legally not pay taxes, right? Especially on certain things like retirement income, right? But anyway, I'm going to let the expert tell more about that. But first, let's kick it up with a quick introduction about yourself and your company.
Well, sure. Yep. I am started this entity particularly to help people with taking back control of their financial future. So I've been in the insurance industry for 20 years, helping people out with all kinds of different ways to protect their things and their lives. But this is actually one of the more meaningful types of strategies that I've been able to help people with here at this company, Stream Strategies, which is helping them to safeguard and protect their retirement so they can live the lifestyle they want, not have to give away too much money to the IRS, and also make sure there's a legacy for their family if that's their plan as well.
Amazing. I mean, it is something, if there's something that there's one of the few things that we have guaranteed is that we're going to die, right? We're going to die. That's going to happen. We want to retire. So that means even before dying, right? Like, I guess I got a little stream too quick, but the retirement comes first usually, right? And that part is something that it's going to happen. Like your body's going to start deteriorating and you got to prepare for that. Like I tell this to my mom and I keep pushing her. Like I wish I can just send her this later, but she doesn't speak that much English, so that's gonna be hard. But I don't want to like hold this more anyway. Like I just want to say like, you know, this is extremely important and I'm excited to see what you have for advice. So on that note, what kind of like actionable tips or mindset changing advice do you have for the audience, especially people that have not even done anything towards retirement, or maybe they have something but might not have the right strategy?
Sure. Yep. Happy to help with that. You touched on one thing. You mentioned one of the guarantees in life, and there's actually two. There's famous quote about death and taxes are the two things guaranteed in life. So my thoughts just on that and where some of this foundational, strategy is going is that if you can actually find a way to protect yourself from paying so much of what you eventually do save into retirement or what you're going to save in retirement from ultimately the known of taxation. That's one thing we want to consider here, as well as, like we talked about, end of life at some point also. But with that being said, when it comes to the importance of saving for retirement, since 1980, there's been something around called the 401k. I'm sure you've heard about it. Most people, when they think about retirement, that's the number or the acronym they think about, right? That's actually just a code in the taxes that says you can save some money now and pay taxes on it later when you take it out in retirement. So worked really good back in the 80s and up until now, but you might have noticed when you've been at the grocery store or you're trying to get a mortgage right now, interest rates are up, inflation rates are high. And many economists and great predictors of what might come in our financial future is next, increased taxes. So is the old traditional way of saving into the 401k the best way? And that's where I'd like to just, pause. I think it's good for the audience to reflect on that. If you're saving, finally start saving money and you save it all tax deferred and owe on it in the future? Are you putting yourself in the best position? How about yourself? Have you thought about that at all, or is that crossed your mind, Fu?
Definitely. Definitely. Obviously, I want to make sure that I take care of myself. And there's also the part of my family. My mom, she's smart, but she's just kind of like hard-headed and stuff. And like she has like a CD doing nothing, like basically getting like a percentage or something. So inflation's eating that. And I told her, it's like, hey, just you should talk to a financial advisor. You should talk to somebody that can really put things into perspective for you, because you're not doing this right. And I'm not saying that I'm the professional on this. I receive help, and I'm creating my own retirement as of now, right? Like we spoke before doing this, that I have my strategy that I'm putting some money away. But sometimes I'm trying to find ways to how can I not only help myself but also help my family. So that's why I definitely think about this every now and then.
Oh yeah. Well, importantly so. So that's awesome that you have started and sharing what you know, right, with others who may be just stuck in doing things the more traditional way. Because what used to work may not be what's going to work best for our future. So it's there's the Roth IRA, Roth 401k. A lot of companies now offer Roth 401ks, and they're giving more education on that. So for anyone out there who does have access to a 401k plan, think about diversifying and putting some of your money into that Roth bucket where you can grow your money tax-free, distribute it tax-free, and still potentially get a match from your employer in there. That's a really great turnkey option. But for those entrepreneurs listening, if you're setting up a SEP IRA or an individually owned account, again, you have the option to consider Roth as well. So it's just putting you in a better position potentially for the future. There's a lot of tax-friendly laws around those that allow you to grow your money tax-free and take it out tax-free down the line.
And my understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is like the difference between Roth and traditional, right? It's traditional is the other option, right?
Yes.
So is that Roth gets taxed right now, and then when you take it out, it's tax free, and then traditional, you put it there with taxes, and then when you take it out, then it's whatever the tax is at the time, right? That's what you get, right? Is that correct?
Yes, exactly right. So if you're going to participate in a traditional plan, and let's say, the paycheck is $1,000 and you want to put $300 into your retirement account, you could put the $300 into the traditional 401k or IRA, and then it lowers your taxable income from $1,000 to $700 for that particular pay period. Now, if you do it into the Roth, you still pay tax on the full, $1,000 of money and that 300, but now you put the $300 into the account and it's going to grow tax free. So it's kind of like if you ask a farmer, I believe we're both in the similar region of the U.S., but we've got farming throughout our country. If you'd rather pay tax on the seed or the harvest, right? If we can pay tax on the seed money we put into something rather than the beautiful harvest we grow on it as it proliferates over time, that could be the way to go. So you got it just perfect.
Yeah, my understanding, because I studied when I was in the Air Force, they make you go through the courses of like DSP, and it's no different than 401k.
Right.
It's a different name, but it's the same thing. So I had to go to the course and learn about the Roth and then the traditional, and I went with Roth because what you said, and then the only reason by my understanding to pick a traditional is if you think that taxes will be lower later on, but as we know, things never get low, they just keep going high. So at the time, it was Trump, it was in the office too and everything, so I was like, if anything, like this is the best time to get taxed because things are just gonna go up then after he's getting, like, that's what I was thinking. And I mean, I'm not wrong, right? Things are just going up and up, and it's just not about like, oh, Trump or not, right? It's just kind of like Republican, Democrats, and also just the economy in general worldwide. So it's not even us. So that's what I was thinking. It's like, oh, I'd rather get taxed now because taxes will not go down. If anything, their chances they will go up. So that's
Yeah.
my train of thought for that.
And you're right on. As of January 2026, the 2017 Trump tax cuts will be ending. So we will see changes to the tax table effective January 1, 2026. So that is an increase we know that is coming. It's very slight. We're going back to what it was back in 2017, but it's enough to say, okay, this is going in that direction that you predicted. And if you take a look at our federal deficit as a nation, right, there's published numbers that show we're at about 32 trillion with a T in debt, but that's kind of only just a fraction of the story. There's a site, and this might be interesting to some of your listeners. It's called the usdebtclock.org. You can take a look at some of these numbers, and there's a box that's represented on there that shows the U.S. unfunded liabilities. So this means like all the promises that they've made for Social Security, Medicare, federal benefits, things that are, heavily relied upon by society, highly likely not to go away in the very near future. But that liability is actually just about 5 times our national debt. So that national debt is not the true story. We're close. Our unfunded liabilities are close to 160 trillion. So that's all public information on this debt clock. But again, headed down that road of how are we going to provide these benefits as a nation without taking a little bit more from the taxpayers. So for those of you growing it, starting to save for retirement, growing a big nest egg for the future, really important to know what are ways you can stay in control of that money. So we talked about one, the Roth, and the only other place that you can grow money tax deferred and pull it out tax free is using certain types of permanent life insurance policies. So that's the other thing. So when you look at, like you said earlier, Fu, if the tax code is there, it's meant to be used. I don't know if anyone here studies James or follows Robert Kiyosaki. But
he was in the podcast, by the way. So it was in the Strategic Advisor Board podcast, which is this podcast.
Nice.
I wasn't me as a host. It was Jason, but definitely this community knows him because he was in the podcast.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, he talks a lot about patterns in history, as well as Tony Robbins does too. But with just along the lines of this, it's important to sorry, lost my train of thought a minute on where I was going with Kiyosaki on that. But
I think it's my understanding with this is that my mind went, and it's because I have one of my clients is a tax strategist. So I'm talking about taxes all the time. I listen to Kiyosaki talk about taxes all the time. It's like and it's about like not like if you're allowed to legally not pay taxes, right? There's a rule book, right? And something that David A. Perez says all the time is like those who know the rules rule, right? So if you can either study that or get a professional that studies that in your corner, then you can legally not pay taxes. Because if you think about it, do you trust yourself that you can do better with your money? And that doesn't mean like I'm gonna keep all this money. Like obviously you can give back, and most people that have money still gives back, right? Like it's not like so it's about do you trust that the government will do better with that money, or would you? And there's no way around not paying taxes at all, right? Like so legally you're allowed to avoid taxes because you can invest on certain things that the government wants you to do it. That's why it's in the rules, right? So that is the reason that you get those tax breaks. So that I don't know if that's exactly where you were going, but that's where my mind went. So.
Thank you. Yes, you exactly. He talks about using the tax code to your advantage. So if there's something that's tax favored, and generally it's tax favored because, like you said, the government is essentially endorsing it because it provides a societal benefit. They give tax breaks to employers for providing jobs, tax breaks to real estate investors and landlords for providing housing, and life insurance kind of falls into this as well. And we might not think about it this way, but it's actually a societal benefit. Think about a family of 4 and maybe the mother or the father is, a major income contributor to the family. When they pass away, that family experiences a hardship. So rather than going to maybe social programs, a life insurance benefit helps that family to pick up their quality of life, standard of living, getting money back into the economy. So thanks for rounding that point out that I had a little gap on, but it's about using the tax code. It's there to be used. And it's, again, you're really giving back to society by, learning these things. So
yeah, I mean,
that's
there is a
awesome.
reason why this they are in the tax code. Like, there is a reason. Like, this is not just somebody gamble something or whatever, right?
Right.
Obviously, you can also argue that it's like, well, the people that are making this are the rich people that want to stay richer, right? But they have to justify it some way anyway, right? Like, there has to be something to, because it's public, it's out there, right? And if
Yeah.
it's out there, might as well, if the rich are taking opportunities on that, then you should too, right? Because that's just, you should study what the rich people are doing. So because
Yeah.
they know better, right? And they have people in their corners that are experts on this thing. So that's
Yes.
that's the key here.
And I think that's what's so great about this podcast. Thanks for bringing me on so we could get this message out to more people. Because anyone, banks and billionaires, business owners, corporations, they're using some of the strategies that we touched on today. Again, Roth is one that's commonly talked about, but using the tax code and the little known secrets about all the wealth you can build inside of a cash value life policy. Is something that, again, we just want to touch on today. I'm happy to wrap up here with just sharing kind of my 3-step framework to your audience. If you're intrigued by some of the things we're saying today, really, before going forward, you want to take a look at where you are now. Take a step back. I like to say reevaluate, reallocate, and regain control. So take a step back, reevaluate where you're at now. How are you saving money now? Do you have your money just in a CD, earning a low percentage? Are you doing the traditional route of funding a 401k? Do you have any tax diversification? And if not, consider reallocating. Consider diversifying your portfolio, reallocating assets into some of the topics that we touched on today, of course, with the guidance of a financial professional or tax professional by your side. And ultimately, what that's going to allow you to do is to regain control of your future.
Is
And
that the
not
third R?
That's the third R.
Because I'm
So
making notes. So review, reallocate, and something. What was the other one?
they rhymed a little better than that. Reevaluate, reallocate,
Oh,
and
reevaluate.
and
Okay.
regain control.
Evaluate. Okay, and regain control. Okay, perfect. Because I'm making notes of this because I could make content out of this and then get it to more people, right? Reevaluate, reallocate, and what was the last one? Sorry.
Sure. Yeah. No, regain control.
Regain
Right.
control. Regain. Okay.
When you
Nice.
earn your
Thank you.
money, you've got it in your hands. But when you make a decision of where you're going to put it or investment, sometimes unknowingly, right, we're losing control by letting go of that money and not knowing how it's going to be taxed, or is it real safe? So you want to get yourself in a position where you're in control of what that's going to be for the future.
Thank you. Thank you for that. That was very punchy, very powerful. So that's definitely something that people can take away from this, right? Like we went into the whys and the what rich people are doing. Like we even cited like Kiyosaki and even Tony Robbins and everybody, right? And even my client David Ep569 that talks about this all the time, right? So that this is great. I think this is very powerful. Just remember those biggest takeaway right here. Like those 3 R's, right? Just like reevaluate, reallocate, and regain control. And I think that's a pretty strong thing. Like everybody wants to have control. Like that's something that feeling out of control is something that never feels right. Like nobody wants to be like that. So making sure that that you're taking care of yourself and your family, that's something that can help you sleep better at night and just make sure that your family's gonna get taken care of. So that's very important. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, thanks for taking the time. And I just want to say, like, one thing that I like saying to a lot, and because of the podcast, like you don't get what you want, you get what you believe. So relate it to this, just believe that you can gain control. Believe that you can legally find ways to not pay taxes and to get ahead and not having to get the government take everything from you, because you're still gonna pay. Like there's like the sales tax, there's the housing, there's so many ways that the government will find ways to tax you. So just try to limit that and believe that you can achieve these things that is not outside of your control. So thank you again. And this was Erica Ramos and Foo, and this is us signing off.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Moments with Foo with your host, Foo. Please leave your feedback and visit strategicadvisorboard.com to get the latest and greatest business advisement on the planet. Follow us on social media for updates, and we will see you on the next episode.